Hey everybody, this is Jacob Tucker here, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to register your IP on the blockchain using the Story TypeScript SDK. So before we jump into this video, I just want to quickly mention that this tutorial is a written tutorial that I'm going to be following, that it lives on our documentation. And if you want to check out this tutorial, you can look at the link in the description. That written tutorial also, as you can see, includes a completed code example of everything we're going to cover in this video. So if you just want to jump there and copy and paste into your code, go ahead and do that if it's faster for you. So just to briefly take a step back here, Story is a purpose-built L1 designed to be the IP layer, or I guess the world's IP layer. And so we're going to be using Story in this video to register our IP on the blockchain. So I'm just going to quickly, before we jump into the code, read through this explanation here. So let's say you have some off-chain IP, example, a book, a character, a drawing, etc. In order to register that IP on Story, which is again a L1 purpose-built blockchain, you first need to mint an NFT to represent that IP. So you will have to have some NFT in order to then register it on Story. Now, if you don't have an NFT, that is perfectly fine. We're going to be walking through that in this video. But once you have an NFT, you're then going to register that NFT on Story, turning it into what's called an IP asset. Now, an IP asset on Story is sort of what it seems like. It's a piece of IP that has been registered on Story, or more specifically, an NFT that has been registered on Story, becoming an IP asset, which is a piece of IP that has a bunch of superpowers with it. And those superpowers are basically modules. We have a bunch of modules. You can see on the left-hand side here in our documentation, we have the licensing module, royalty module, dispute module, grouping module, and a bunch of other modules to come. And again, these are like superpowers on your IP. They enable your IP to do certain things. So for example, the licensing module allows you to not only register your IP, but also register derivatives of that IP to track, the ancestors all on chain. And when you do that, that also enables the royalty module, which enables automatic royalty flow between parent and child IPs. So let's say you have some parent, let's say a character that gets used in another story. If that story were to receive revenue, it would automatically flow to the parent IP, i.e. that character. So there is automatic, royalty flow. The dispute module being on-chain disputes of wrongfully registered IP or malicious IP, etc. So we're going to cover basically in this video minting an NFT and then registering it as an IP asset. So anyways, just to go back to this explanation here, that is two transactions. One is minting an NFT, right? Or if you already have an NFT, then you've covered that. And then registering that NFT as an IP asset. So to make things easy, we actually provide a function that we're going to show in this video that combines these two operations called mint and register IP asset with pill terms, again, which we will see below. This function not only mints an NFT for you, but also registers it and then allows you to set certain license terms on that piece of IP, which means, how can others use my IP? So if I want others to just be able to remix it, create derivatives of it, we could put non-commercial social remixing, terms on that IP, or we could put certain commercial terms on that IP, which says, if you want to use my IP in a commercial setting, you have to pay me 5 USDC or something like that, or 10 IP or something like that, And then lastly, we will set metadata on that NFT and IP so that it properly displays on our Explorer and other apps in the Story ecosystem. So what I have here on my screen is Cursor. I'm using Cursor instead of VS Code. Cursor is kind of like the AI, superpower VS Code, which I've been really loving recently. And all I have here is a empty TypeScript file. Now I have a bunch of other stuff on the left here, but we will walk through that in this video. Okay, so let's just follow the before you start steps. So we're going to add our private key to our .env file. Now, I already have my .env file here. I'm not going to show it for this video, but there is a .env.example to show you everything you need to fill in. So, you would put your wallet's private key in your .env file. Moving on, we're also going to add our Pinata JSON web token to our .env file. Pinata is what I'm using to upload files to IPFS, which we will be doing in this video. So grab your Pinata JWT and paste that into your .env as well. Third, we're going to be using, this basic, the public default RPC provider URL, which is just testnet.storyrpc.io. You can also check out a list of any other RPC URLs you want in our documentation under the Story Network Guide. However, again, I'm just going to use the public default one. And then lastly, we're going to install the dependencies, which I've already done, but you would just paste this into your, package.json. We're going to be using the Story Protocol TypeScript SDK, otherwise known as the Core SDK, the Pinata SDK to upload files to IPFS, and then VM just for, basic blockchain interactions. So once you've done all that setup, we're going to now set up our story config. So what I'm going to do is copy this into our application here. So I'm going to go to my metadata example and copy this in here. Now we're going to move our imports to the top of the file here, and then we should be all set up. All right, so all we've done so far, and I'm going to increase the font here so you can see it, is we've set our private key inside of our .env. And then what we're going to do is take that private key and convert it to an account, which we will need for our story config. So again, we've taken our private key here, we're converting it to an account in these two steps, and then we're going to initialize the story config. So the story config, we need an account to actually run transactions. And then we need to specify the transport HTTP RPC URL. This is also coming from our .env file that we just set up. And then we're going to be using Iliad in this video. If you're watching this in the future, this may be Odyssey testnet, or this may be even mainnet if you're watching this way in the future. But for now, Iliad is the currently live testnet that we have going on at Story. And then we're going to use this config to initialize our client by saying story client.new client. And then we're going to pass in our config here. All right. So that is all good and done. Now that we've set up our story config, and also, by the way, for each of these sections, there is an associated doc so you can check out if you want a further explanation on these steps, but it should be pretty straightforward. So in this next step here, we're going to initialize our IP metadata. Now, instead of copy and pasting this, I'm actually going to walk us through this directly because I think it's maybe better to slow down a bit here. But what we're going to do is we're going to say const IP metadata. And for the reason that we're doing this is because we want to set proper metadata on our IP asset when we register it. So that's why we're doing this step right now. So IP metadata equals client, which we just set up, dot IP asset, dot generate IP metadata. And so you'll see a little suggestion here, actually, which I love that cursor does. But we're going to pass in here, we're going to pass in the title, which is going to be we'll just say, my IP asset. Then we're also going to pass in a description, which is like, this is my IP asset. We will also pass in out a watermark image, which for this video, I'm going to use a website that just passes in example images. If we paste this in, this is pixum.photos. We can actually go to our browser and I'll show you. It's a really cool website where every time you paste it in, it gives you a different random image. Great for testing purposes. So that's what I'm going to be using for this video. So I'm going to paste that in there, and then I'm also going to pass in some attributes. These attributes are basically an array here, where you can pass in a object that just has, key, let's just say rarity, rarity, and then the value, we will just say it's a legendary IP asset. And this should be attributes. Now, there's actually a whole list of this. There's a whole documentation that will walk you through this. It's the IPA metadata standard. So if you click on that link in the tutorial, you'll see this actually brings you to an entire table of different attributes that you can pass in. So we use a title, description, we used a watermark image, and we also use attributes. There's a bunch of other stuff here that you can pass in. And this function, generate IP metadata, will help you to generate that whole list of attributes automatically, but you can specify a certain couple in here. And if you want to, you can also, which I will paste in here as well, you can also import the IP metadata type and specify that right here. And this will just give you a better idea of the type that is expected for this object. So there is our IP metadata. And again, we will be using this when we register our IP asset. So the next step, which is also pretty straightforward, is the NFT metadata. This follows the basic ERC 721 metadata standard. So because this is very straightforward, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this into our application. This is just, again, NFT metadata that you are used to if you've ever, worked with NFTs in the blockchain space. Just a name, description, and image. For the name, I'm just going to say test NFT. The description, this is a test NFT. And then image is another random photo. Now, again, you may be wondering, what is the difference between the NFT and the IP? To answer that question, you can, again, go back and check out that IP and metadata standard, which provides explanation for this. But essentially, NFT metadata is not as important. It's just basic information about the NFT. Again, you can provide test info here. For the IP metadata, that's where you can be more specific about your title. So again, is this a book? What's the title of the book? What's the description of the book? An image of the book maybe, and then attributes of that book. You can dive much more into the details there. And then to make things simple, you can just copy those things for the NFT side. Okay, so once we've done that, we're now going to upload our IP and NFT metadata to IPFS. Now, this is a function here to upload JSON data to IPFS. We can see in my application, I already have that under utils upload to IPFS. I already have this code here just because this video is not meant to be a tutorial on how to upload to IPFS, but that code is here and copy and pasteable for you. So that is what is right here, okay? Awesome. So now that we have done that, let's go back to our application here, and we're going to use this in our code now. So again, we're going to take this code here. Actually, you know what? I will type this out because I think it's maybe better for us to just do it together. So I'm going to say const IP IPFS hash equals await upload JSON to IPFS, and we're going to pass in our metadata there. We're also going to import this into our file. Awesome. So this will upload this JSON to IPFS and then provide us with an IPFS hash here. Now we're going to also say const IP hash equals create hash. And then I'm just going to click enter here. So this is SHA-256. We're just going to basically hash this object here. And we can also import this like that. And that's going to import it from the crypto library, which should be already installed. Okay, so that's for our IP metadata. We're going to do the same for our NFT metadata. So we're going to just say const NFT IPFS hash. And I love the cursor automatically does this for you. You should definitely use cursor if you're not already. We're going to upload our NFT metadata to IPFS. And then we're also going to, and I'm going to delete this because we're not ready for this part yet. But then we're also going to convert, the NFT object to a hash as well. Okay. Great. So now that we've done that, we're actually ready to register our IP, which is insane that we're already there. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we're on step 5. Now there's two options for step 5. Either A, you already have an NFT minted, which we're not going to cover in this video, but it's, again, very straightforward. And if you already have an NFT minted, or let's say you have a custom NFT contract that you want to use, you would go through step 5A. So you would basically just use this register function. Again, you can literally just copy and paste this into your app instead. This is, again, if you already have an NFT minted and it's your own custom contract. So let's say you have your own NFT contract address. You would put that in your .env file. The token ID of that NFT you could also put in your .env file. And then this would register that using the metadata that we just set, okay? So you can go through 5A if you want. But this video is going to cover you don't have an NFT and you want to have a single function that will mint and register the NFT in the same step. So we're going to skip to 5B here. Okay, great. So now that we're at step 5B, what we're going to say is in order to use this function, I'll scroll down a bit here, in order to use the mint and register IP asset with pill terms, we actually need to create a SPG NFT collection. Now this may be a bit confusing, but essentially the SPG on Story, and if you want to check out more documentation on the SPG, by the way, before I dive into this, check out the SPG section. But the SPG is basically a periphery or utility smart contract on Story that allows you to combine multiple operations into one. So registering or minting an NFT and registering an NFT are two separate transactions usually. But the SPG is a utility contract that allows us to combine them into one transaction, namely in the mint and register IP asset with pill terms function. So in order for the SPG to mint and register an NFT in the same transaction, you need to create a SPG NFT collection first. So there's two ways to do this. Either A, you can implement your own contract and just make sure that it inherits the SPG NFT interface, or we can use the SDK one time to create a new SPG NFT collection, and then we'll never have to do it again, which is very helpful. So we're going to quickly take a break from the metadata example and go to this script, which is create SPG NFT collection, which is just a basic script. Where just like the metadata example, well, actually, I'll make this very similar to our metadata example, so it's maybe a bit easier to understand. where we basically set up a private key, an account, we initialize the story config, the client, all the same. The only thing that we haven't covered in this video is we're going to create a new collection here. So I will show you how to do that right now. So all we would say is, and actually I'll just get rid of all the comments here just so that it's a lot easier to look at, I guess. What we will say is const new collection equals await client dot NFT client dot create NFT collection. All right. And in here, we're just going to pass a few things. One is the name, which is just, we'll just say test NFT. The symbol, which we will just say is test. And then we're also going to pass in transaction options, which we will just say wait for transaction is true. This way we can get some return values from this function. Okay. So, this should be create NFT collection. Sorry, not create SPG collection. And then we're going to console log some of the information here. Okay. And we have to also add this parenthesis. So again, this is just going to deploy a new SPG NFT contract where the name is test NFT, the symbol is test. And just remember again, if you want to implement your own, you can always do that and implement the INFT or ISPG NFT interface. But for this video, it's a lot easier just to use the SDK to do that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I've already configured my package JSON to just run this script if I paste in this command. So I'm just going to, in my terminal, say npm run create SPG collection, and that's going to quickly run this script. And we should see in the output, let me actually increase the font here, that it logs the new NFT contract address right here. So what I'm going to do is quickly, on a separate screen here, I'm going to add that to my .env file and go back here. Okay, great. So then I have now added that NFT contract address to my .env file, okay? So I'm going to go back to my metadata example, and we're going to actually go back to the tutorial as well. And so we've already done this step now, which is awesome. And again, we only have to do this one time. So once we have our SPG NFT collection, we should be able to use the mint and register IP asset with fill terms function as many times as we need. So it's pretty convenient. And again, you would just have to set that NFT contract address you get in your terminal to your .env file. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's go back to our tutorial here, and we're going to now do what we've all been waiting for, which is mint and register an NFT as an IP asset. So we're going to say const response equals await client.ip asset dot mint and register IP asset register IP asset with pill terms. Open up a function here. And, this should say mint and register. Oops, mint and register. All right. And so in here, we're going to pass our NFT contract, which is just our process.env .nft contract address as address, right? This should be NFT contract. All right. And then we're going to say pill type, which again, before, or I'll explain this in a second after I said it. And actually, we should just import pill type here. All right, cool. Non-commercial remix. Oops, non-commercial remix. And what this part is, the pill type is, again, the license terms that we want to add to our IP asset. So if we want to, we could go to the programmable IP license tab on the left of our docs and go to pill flavors. You can see the three options here. One is non-commercial social remixing. This gives us the ability for others to remix this work, distribute the remix everywhere. They have to credit us appropriately. And you can see all the different terms here. If we wanted them to use it in their commercial use, they could. Commercial remix. You can check out all the terms here. But for this video, we're using non-commercial social remixing, which basically just says, you know what, you can use this anywhere you want, but just not commercially. So let's go back to our tutorial here. Scroll down to 5B. And okay, now we're back. So now what we're going to do is set all the metadata that we described earlier. So we're going to say, okay, the IP metadata, there is four things. One is the IP metadata URI, which is just your whatever IPFS link you want to use. I like using ipfs.io/IPFS, and then we're going to pass in our IP hash here. Or actually, this should be IPFS hash here, the hash we get from uploading to IPFS. Then we're going to say IP metadata hash, and that's literally just the, actually we should say OX and then IP hash here, just to properly format it. So again, this is just the hash of the object. And then we're going to do the same thing for the NFT side. So NFT metadata URI. And this is, again, the IPFS.io, NFT IPFS hash here, and then the NFT metadata hash, which is just the NFT hash, all right? And then lastly, we're just going to set transaction options, which just says, you know what, wait for the transaction to end. That way we can get some results from this transaction. And then I'm going to go to our tutorial here and copy the two console logs just so that we can get some output here. And hopefully this should all work. Oh, and this should also actually say response. So I will change that in the tutorial so that is fixed, okay? So again, I have configured this to run if I run the metadata script here. So let's just say npm run metadata, and hopefully all should work. So it's going to mint a NFT and then register it as IP if everything works, and also upload all of our metadata to IPFS in the process. So let us see if this goes through. And it does. So it says the root IPA was created at this transaction hash. This is the IPA or IP asset ID of that IPA. And then it also gives us a link to view this on the Explorer. So let's go ahead and open this link, and hopefully everything should work. So we open the Explorer here, and it may take a second to actually load the metadata. So we might have to refresh the page a few times. So I'm going to try to refresh the page a few times here and see if it goes through. And it does. So we can see test NFT here. We can see the image that it registered. We can see the IP details. So if we go ahead and click on the IP metadata URI here, which is what we set, we can actually view this on IPFS. We can see all of our metadata that we set right here in IPFS. And you can also see that even though we only specified title, description, watermark, image, and attributes, we should also see relationships, created at, media, creators. This is because we use the generate IP metadata function, which automatically formats all of our metadata or IP metadata. And if you also want to see, we can go to NFT details. We can see the NFT metadata URI here. And if we click on view metadata, this is the NFT's metadata, right? And so this is actually what this image is coming from. And we can see that because if we take, actually, this will generate a random photo, but you get the idea. So really awesome. Yeah, so that is it. That is a tutorial on how to register your IP on the blockchain and how to properly set metadata for it so that it works with the Story ecosystem. I hope this was helpful. And again, you can always check out the completed code if you go to the tutorial that will be in the description. So thanks everyone so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions at all, please go to the Story Discord and ask some questions, which I will also provide in the description. So thanks everyone, and have a great day. Bye.